feel like I have a good voice for like a late night like slow jams radio DJ. What do you think?
I think any black man has that.
Racist.
You've got the Morgan Freeman-esque.
I wouldn't say Morgan Freeman.
You've got a deep, gravelly voice.
Dude, how about those kids I called you about last night? Did you tell him about that?
No, I didn't.
Dude, so I went to Publix last night, and I'm walking down the aisle, and these two kids are stocking shelves there, and they had no idea I was there, so this wasn't like a framed conversation. The one kid looks at the other one and goes, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, Tobey Maguire is a good Spider-Man, but I feel like for me, I just connect on a spiritual level with Tom Holland. And I was like...
How old are these kids?
Probably 24.
That's not a kid, that's a grown man.
Well, if you're stocking shelves.
Listen, Tom Holland connects with me on a spiritual level, he said.
I guess so.
Don't we all feel like that, though?
Periodically.
I liked him best. I think he was the best one. I think Tobey Maguire was like 28 when he recorded that first one.
I don't know.
He looked 28 at least. He was like not a teenager. And they were like portraying him in high school and stuff. It's like, dude, you look creepy. Not gonna lie to you.
Dude, I'll be honest with you. I know that you're gonna rag on me for this, but
You haven't seen any of the Spider-Mans?
no, I've seen them all, but not on the Spider-Man thing. But I'll tell you right now, I have definitely had my eyes open to the Vivek train that's rolling through.
I got you on the Vivek train.
I'm telling you, dude, after doing a little bit of looking.
I've heard it's Vivek like cake.
Vivek, however you want to say.
Just try to say the last name.
No, I'm going to leave it alone. I don't want to get canceled. But I am going to tell you that
If you haven't gotten canceled yet.
listening to the things that he's talking about, it doesn't sound like he's just showboating things that he's going to do if he gets elected. Mm-hmm. It honestly sounds to me like he has viable plans for how he could actually institute something. And listen, I mean, I guess anybody's blowing smoke until they accomplish something. But,
right.
You know, to just say, I'm going to get rid of the FBI
That's
is
a pretty
like a
crazy
bold statement.
thing.
But, you know, when you think about, he explains in the whole video that I watched that he's not just saying, I'm going to get rid of the FBI because it's like a clickbaity thing to say. He's saying it because I guess there's like a law that you can't just fire federal employees without cause. Mm-hmm. Like they have to be breaking some sort of a law or something like that. He was like explaining. He goes, but there is no legal protection for them against mass layoffs or downsizing.
Right.
So he said,
he said it's 75% headcount reduction on the federal government, not FBI, federal government.
Yeah. So he said, it's not that they're all going to be unemployed. He said, I just don't want the bureaucrats around anymore. He's like, the people that I believe are actually doing the work that the FBI should be doing will be relocated to other sectors and they'll be given other jobs. But the bureaucrats that report daily to do nothing but mess with the rest of this country, he goes, they're gone. They can find their own jobs.
I think why young people are his base. Mm-hmm. Well, he's young. What is he, 38? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So like that for a presidential candidate, that's super young. I mean, look at our president. But to be honest with you, I mean, Trump is over 70. So is Biden, obviously. But I think like the young people, I get why young people like him because his whole thing is like he's like a visionary, so to speak. But like he's got like a for mentality. He's like, I'm not against this and against that. I'm for this and I'm for that. And like he touts himself to be a George Washington American first conservative. So like I feel like that's the connection that people have with him. They're like, yeah, I want to be for free speech. I want to be for America first. I like that vision. His whole thing is like we need to get back to the vision of what it means to be an American.
He was an interesting twist, I think, to add into the race because I was looking at, obviously I couldn't vote for Robert Kennedy Jr.
Right.
But I did look at him.
Just because he's a Democrat.
I thought you were going to say I couldn't vote.
I did look at him and I thought like, man, if there was anybody that could cause Republicans to cross the aisle, it would probably be somebody like a Kennedy Jr., I think, because he's more of a traditional Democrat.
He's not traditional liberal.
Right, yeah, he's not like this, he's not a fringe guy.
Yeah.
But that's the other thing I like about Ramaswamy is that he says, I'll make it clear I'm not running against Trump.
Yeah.
He said, I believe that me and Trump have very like interests. My big push is just that I believe I can more easily cross the aisle than he can because whether he likes it or not, 30% of the United States would just vote for anyone that's not him.
I don't think that's a traditional American name.
Well,
I doubt.
Didn't your parents almost name you that?
Oh, Ramaswamy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ramaswamy first name, middle name Vivek. Yeah. It was a close between Alex and that. I don't know. That's going to be hard for him in the Midwest, getting over the whole Indianity thing.
Do you think that the people, like the Midwest people, just vote like Republican regardless, and then like your fringe people are always going to vote their party? And do you believe that like he would have a better chance because he's going after the younger group of people that may actually more care about policies than they do traditional voting paths?
Well, in Montana, where I was just at, it used to be, it's now purple. It's now
Used
purple.
to be red.
Used to be. It's now purple. Anytime you get around big cities,
Sure.
it's gonna go towards blue. That's just how it kind of has been for the most part.
But I guess
so the states, and the sad part is, that's the majority of where the population's located in those states. Go to Montana. You have Billings, Bozeman, the big cities is where the population is. So it really doesn't matter. Like that's why we have the electoral college, but it's just how it is for the most part. Cities are, and I'd like to know why that is, as far as why cities are just liberal. For the most part, cities are liberal.
You spoke about that.
Because I think it's the Jordan Peterson says that it's trait openness that makes someone liberal, and so I guess it's like the opportunity and the entrepreneurial or the new ideas, that being able to be open to new ideas, drives people to the city for new opportunities, whereas like conservatives, they like the traditional means of making money. So like all these coffee shops, they're liberal because they have a vision of like, oh, I want coffee like this, and it's gonna be like a cool environment. When conservatives are like, I don't care. I want to get the best coffee for the best dollar. Like that kind of thing. Yeah, like best part of waking up. Folgers in your cup.
It is true. If you
Probably
took
not
like
worth waking up.
if you took like New York City and made it conservative, it would just be like it
Lame.
would not be
It would be
it would not
lame.
be enticing anymore.
I think cities. I think it's the part of the fun and part of the intrigue of cities is the liberal aspect. In a way, obviously, like none of us are liberal.
Unpack that.
I think that, like Zach said to me, and I think this is a pretty much of a good litmus test. Have you ever been to a cool conservative coffee shop? Or want to go to one?
If you say conservative coffee, you think
Absolutely,
like Black
I've been.
Rifle coffee. That's what if somebody was
I'm
like,
just
I
thinking,
went to
okay,
it'd be like Black
Christian-
Rifle coffee.
I guess Christian, they kind of are hipster in one way, but I'm thinking like
Hebrews
conservative
coffee.
Yeah.
I don't think that there are. I mean, are there coffee shops that are based on politics? I think they're just like
I think most hip coffee shops are liberal on their face, like
And the-
hard.
Yeah.
I mean,
and
there's
then-
probably people that work there that are, but I don't think it's part of the brand of the coffee shop.
I think it becomes part of the brand of the coffee shop.
How so?
The people, the messaging, they all have pride flags up on, in June. It's apparent that the culture is liberal.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that.
I don't think the coffee
I don't think a
itself
pride flag in and of
votes
itself is
Democrat.
political. I think it just defines a group of people that hold a political opinion are more likely to be of that group than they are. But it's not an actual political side. You
What do
know
you
what I
mean
mean
by that?
How about the British guy
Yeah.
that goes on those talk shows that's super flamboyantly gay but is a strong conservative?
Who is that? Is he British, or are you talking about
He's
the
British.
guy that we saw at Jordan Peterson that came? Who's that?
No, it's not him. It's the guy that's like super. He's British. I'm trying to remember his name. Just Google it real quick. He's super flamboyantly gay,
British
and he
gay
goes
guy.
on, but nobody can handle him because he makes crazy claims. But he's also extremely conservative, and so they hate him. The homosexual community hates him because of the stance that he takes on everything, and he goes on talk shows.
think I know
Douglas
who you're
Murray,
No,
No, I
No,
know. I
it's
think I
not
know
him.
who you're talking about.
Milo Yiannopoulos.
Yes,
oh,
that's him.
Milo.
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 Yeah.
Let me see the
Yiannopoulos.
Yeah.
Yian-
Yeah, Yiannopoulos. Milo Yiannopoulos. That's him. So if you go watch him, he's not a part of the liberal left, but he obviously he is homosexual and flamboyantly so, and works as he says to be more flamboyantly so, but he holds conservative values, and that's the political leanings that he has. So being gay, you may tend to go towards the liberal side of politics, but it's not a politic in and of
Of
itself.
course, but it's
But yes,
it's
they
a
may-
key off.
cut-
Like
cut-
you can make assumptions. Like I don't mean
course you can.
just the pride flags tend to you see.
But
that
I mean,
they're
like you
liberal. I
said,
think-
with Christian coffee shops, like, yes, I've been to good coffee shops that hold Christian conservative values. There's plenty of
I think
them.
there are more cool liberal ones though. I think
Well, if you're talking just like you're talking like
Talking about the vibe.
downtown.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're talking
downtown
about the
city.
vibe.
Yeah. Also, locationally, it's going to matter because if you're talking about the majority of coffee shops in Chicago or New York City, they're obviously going to be
just a
liberal-leaning
result
'cause
of
it's a city.
population.
Then why?
Well, I think those are locationally based because chances are if you went to a cool coffee shop in an area that was a more rural Midwest area, it would probably be more conservative. We just spend more time doing that stuff in cities. But one thing I will say, adding to that, is that I do see where you're coming from, where some institutes kind of brand themselves after being liberal. Like, remember when we were in Starbucks in Louisiana and you asked the barista, you were like, hey, so what do you guys think of Andrew Tate? And her response wasn't, we hate him. She goes, you know where you are, right? You're in a Starbucks.
That's
almost
what
like
I'm- that's what I'm talking
claiming that the entity of Starbucks is a liberal-leaning entity, which
It
obviously
is.
it is.
Starbucks is a
Right.
corporation that leans
Is
to
a
the left.
is a
Yes.
liberal-leaning.
Yeah.
But I think what you're looking
That's
at,
not what I mean though.
I think you're basing it off of your experiences locationally, though. I think that would just be. I think you could have that viewpoint shifted purely by where you're
There's
going.
a big difference, though, between independent coffee shops in a place and a national corporation
Sure.
because they've made political statements publicly.
What do you think? Speaking of that Milo guy, what do you think MSM can do with people like that guy? I saw when I was scrolling through Reels last night. Do you remember the Jim Carrey clip where he went on like calling out the Illuminati on
Yep.
people like
was on
discount that-
Jimmy Kimmel when
Yeah,
he
they're
first
like,
did it.
oh, he was joking around, but it's like, was he?
No, he wasn't.
Right. And then after that, he lost his mind, quote unquote. You know what I mean? Like went off the deep end. And then who was it that?
And I don't think it was quote. I think he did lose his
Well, no,
mind.
he definitely lost his mind. Who was the comedian that like ran down the street naked and like
We were just talking
Martin
about
Lawrence.
Martin Lawrence did that? So you look at these
I don't know that he
things-
was naked or if he was in
He
his
was,
underwear.
they
or
said
if
something about
he
he was in a
bag.
trash bag.
But you look at these things and it's funny because you don't want to be somebody that thinks those like conspiracy style things. But I mean, there's a certain trend that you would have to follow, and then you look at guys like that Milo and you wonder like, is he a guy that really leans that way, or is he a guy that's trying to make a point by? I mean, obviously, you could probably look at somebody's life and say, no, he's definitely conservative. You can tell he's not just doing it on TV, but
No, he's conservative.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like basically like a lobbyist in a way. He's pushing agendas hard in mainstream media, and he gets flack for it. Why would you just do something? If you didn't really hold that view, unless it was for comedic effect, like Stephen Colbert played a satirical conservative, but like Milo truly holds those views and takes a ton of flack for holding those views as a because he basically says that he holds like Christian conservative views even on marriage and things like that, but he is a flamboyantly gay dude.
true. So he's not just like one of those guys that's just doing it out of pure rebellion. Because you do see people like that, I feel like, where they go like, this is the mold I'm supposed to fit in, so I'm going to do the opposite just because.
I don't think he cares like what mold people would have for him because he purposely does it in that way. It's like he's breaking all the rules, as it were. It's like, this is just who I am, accept it or not. It's just like that's his vibe. If you've watched any of his videos,
Right.
It's just that's just who he. And he condescendingly calls people darling if they don't agree with him. Like it's just
Being British is like a weapon in and of itself. You've got so many phrases you can call people that are like.
Look at that
Condescending.
Ricky Gervais video. I mean, there's a guy that really
Oh,
just
he's-
doesn't care
he's
what
funny.
anyone thinks about him. When he did that last Golden Globes, that was like the nail in the coffin for him. He said it like multiple times. Like,
That
they
video
just
is
keep
hilarious.
calling me back.
yeah. He went off.
He was like, what did he say? He was like, thank your God. He's like, we don't need your opinion, like on whatever.
Yeah,
just
thank your agent, thank your
thank your
God,
God,
and
and
kindly
get off the
Yeah.
stage. He's
Well,
like,
he
all
didn't
of
say-
you
he
work.
didn't-
he's
I
like,
don't
all
think
of
he
you-
said that.
All of you work for, Apple, and you'd be happy to do an Amazon Prime thing. They have slaves and child slaves and wherever.
Yeah.
It's like, so you're not like a virtue.
No, the statement that he made
signaling guy.
was, if Al Qaeda, I think it was
Started
Al
a
Qaeda started
streaming
a streaming
service.
service, you'd sign up.
You'd call your agent.
Call your agent.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's funny. People like half booed and half cheered.
It was
Yeah.
funny to me when they panned the crowd and you saw like Tim Cook's face,
Oh, yeah, he
and you
was
saw
like-
Or Tom Hanks' face.
Tom
People
Hanks
were-
was
people were
very
irri-
mad.
They were livid.
Isn't there like something with Tom Hanks where there's like some kind of I don't know, maybe I can't speak on it because I don't really know, but I think there was like something going on where he was being accused of something.
Yeah,
with
there were a
children.
lot. You never
Yeah.
know because like these people are getting There's been a ton of stuff like that with the trafficking and all that, but it makes me think about like Vivek's. It's funny, Vivek's his policies that he's running on. He has them listed on his website, the 25 policy commitments, and it's to take it further than Trump did. It's funny that I know it's probably because a lot of people are interested in it. Publish one of the main ones of his 25. Publish the Jeffrey Epstein client list. Government should not use police power to shield select elites. Like he's running on that. That's like a running point for him.
Wow.
I'm going to publish the Jeffrey Epstein client list. Like I'm running to better this country, and one of the 25 things to turn this country around is we need to publish that Jeffrey. I agree it should be published.
It's like
Well, I
a
told you.
fundamental thing for him, though.
He said that he agrees with 90% of the things that Trump did. And then he was asked, well, what would be the 10% of things you don't agree on? And he said, well, I think there's certain areas that he didn't go hard enough. He was like, for instance, building a wall at our southern border. He goes, I don't believe that does anything. They'll tunnel under it. They'll get through it no matter what. He goes, we don't need to build a wall. We need to station military full-time at the border to protect our border from people coming in illegally. He's
And a
like,
moat
yeah,
with a drawbridge.
and alligators,
Sharks with
flaming
lasers.
flaming swords on like a windmill.
I
But
like
I'm
it.
talking about the Canadian border.
Sorry, TJ.
I like it. I think because my thing is this, like, people act like Trump is, and I like Trump, and I will happily vote for Trump. People act like he's like the model conservative for everything. But he's not really what everyone asked for or wanted. He was just better than Hillary at the time, and then people started thinking, okay,
Not just at the time, he's still better than
I
Hillary.
agree. I agree.
I believe he's been better than Hillary for 900 years.
Yeah. But
Who would you unhappily vote for?
like force myself to like push the button.
She said, I'd happily vote for Trump again, but who would you unhappily vote for?
I'd unhappily vote for John Kasich or Mike Pence.
Mike Pence.
Just very.
That'd be an unhappy
milquetoast.
vote.
Yeah, it's just like, ugh. But okay.
It's like when you have to eat at Wendy's when like McDonald's is for some reason closed or Taco Bell's for some
How
reason
does
closed.
Wendy's get so much love, dude? It is terrible.
You don't
It's
like
terrible.
Wendy's? Are you
No,
serious?
not at all.
Their fries are
Their fries are
terrible.
bad. But I like their
McDonald's
burgers.
puts Wendy's.
Even
so
Wendy
bad.
is
And
kind of
nuggets?
her reputation on
Yeah.
the streets is kind of like,
questionable to say the least.
look at those red pigtails. You're just like something wrong with you.
What are they? What are some of the other things that he's basing it on? Are you still on his website?
Yeah, I mean he's got 25 things, which I won't read them all, but like the under 5 headings: revive American national identity, unleash the American economy. He wants to achieve greater than 5% GDP growth. Declare independence from communist China. That's good for people. People want to hear that. Dismantle managerial bureaucracy and end weaponization of government and financial markets. That's where he has like pardon defendants of politicized prosecutions like Trump, Massey, January 6th protesters. Hold Congress accountable for hush money fund. Good luck with that. Publish the Epstein client list. Rescind Biden's ESG rule for retirement funds. Oppose CBDCs. Fight all plans for digital currency. Which I think he could make waves with that because there's probably enough people, especially conservative people, that are like worried about, a cashless society, digital currencies, especially if seeing what's happened over the last few years. He could probably get on that. Good luck, fighting government hush funds and stuff like that.
Do you think he's got any chance in the world? Like, do you think there's any chance for him this year?
I don't know
This
because
election.
Who all's on the ticket?
Oh my gosh, there's so many people. It's like
Is it more than when Trump ran the first time?
there's not 16 is when Trump ran the first time.
Yeah.
Everyone's still running. Everyone, I guess.
I mean, do you think that there is a possibility that a Republican wins and it's not Trump?
If Trump gets indicted,
Well, yeah, but that's the only.
In lieu of that,
That's the only
I
X
don't
factor.
know.
Did they rule? I thought they already ruled that he could still run if indicted. He would have to be convicted and
Yeah,
jailed.
he'd have to be convicted in order for them to.
He was
to-
already indicted.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
He would
I
have to be
I mean
convicted, right.
convicted.
Yeah, he can still run if indicted. I think they ruled on that. I think he had to be convicted and
So-
obviously jailed. You can't be the president from jail. They've made that pretty clear.
It's
Yeah,
hard to
which
do that.
let the guy live.
So we got Donald Trump. Speaking of who likes Wendy's, Chris Christie is still on the ticket.
Loves Wendy's.
Loves Wendy's.
Wow.
And Wendy.
Loves Perkins. A little pie.
Ron DeSantis.
Who at this point
Ronnie
should just
D.
go back to
Well, he's still
staying
governor,
quiet and
but
yeah, but like, dude, he has less chance, I think, than anyone else on that ticket because he has gotten himself to the point now where I feel like doesn't have the Republican backing at all because he's shown that like he isn't even standing strong now, let alone like if you were actually in office. He just seems like he's too wishy-washy. And I'm sure it's because he's taking super PAC money and he's being told what he can and can't say and what he can and can't stand against. He doesn't have Trump's backing anymore.
I think politically, we'd all be fine to have him as president.
They flipped on him hard and quick.
I think like the tide has turned on him. I think like he's just, for whatever reason, he was likable as governor.
Yeah, and he was like America's
America's
picture
guy.
of freedom during that time, and the media flipped on him hard and quick.
Do you think it's because he doesn't have the money to run on his own, so he has to say the things that the super PACs are telling him to say? Like, do you think if he was self-funded, he would stand more firmly on the things that he's?
But what is he not standing firmly on?
Just listening to him talk in the debates, he just seems like he's treading lightly on things. Like he doesn't seem like the same Ron DeSantis that was really standing strong during COVID and being almost like anti-system when it comes to what they wanted to happen. It seems like that's not the same Ron DeSantis. But the only thing I could think would be if he doesn't have the money to prop up his own campaign, then he would have to. I believe if he lost the money from the super PACs, he would be done. His campaign would be over. He does not have the money to self-fund like
not like Vivek.
Vivek and Trump. No, Vivek said he already has $17.5 million of his own money tied up, and he said there's no end to what I'll put in to. I mean, he's a self-made billionaire, so there's
I didn't
no.
know he—he's a billionaire.
Yeah, he said he said my company.
It's in pharmaceuticals.
Really? That's
I thought it was an equities holding company.
Well, he did start in pharmaceuticals, and then he moved over to.
Which, speaking of that, did I send you that reel that they were giving the stats on? What is it? State Street, Vanguard, and BlackRock are the three big ones, right?
Yeah, you didn't send it to me. I don't think.
Three of those companies, their equity holdings are worth more than the entire GDP of the United States.
I believe that. That's easy.
Those three companies.
Easy to believe.
And they own, I just saw another one today,
though.
they own, I think it was 86% of the S&P 500.
They hold shares in 86% of the companies in the S&P 500.
Yeah, they're the largest shareholders.
They don't hold 86% of it.
No,
86% of the corporations that make up the S&P 500.
Right, they own the largest.
What's
shares.
Apple worth currently?
They're a $1 trillion company, right?
Yeah, they were one of the first, and like, of course, it's always like between ExxonMobil, Apple, but like just having a large equity holding in Apple alone,
Trillion.
so nearing now $3 trillion. Just holding a large stake in Apple. I think you had said what percentage one of them had held in Apple in a previous when we were doing it. I mean, even if you held a large stake in Apple's corporation, if they get to be a $3 trillion corporation, I mean, it's no joke.
No, you can't. I mean, a company like that has so much swing. That's Vivek calls them out. He's like, they're controlled by BlackRock and those guys. He's like, every decision they make, he's like, Tim Cook is a puppet at this point. He goes that he doesn't run Apple, and he calls out a bunch of those people. And
in all honesty, though, I would have to say no CEO is truly running the company. If it's publicly traded, they're answering to a board of directors.
True.
And basically the shareholders.
Twitter's private again?
I don't know.
Is that one of the things that
I don't
Elon
think
did?
I think he's taking it private, but I think it's still publicly traded right now.
Oh.
How about that Panda Express guy?
Panda
Did you see
Express
that?
guy?
No,
Nope.
I know I sent you that reel. He owns all of them. There's one guy that owns all the Panda Expresses. They're not franchises. He owns every location across the United States of America.
If you had that as your thing, that like you had that, it would be amazing. It's just the feeling to know I can go into
I own
any
every
mall
one of them.
food court and eat for free.
The
In
power
any
you
mall
feel.
food court. Doesn't matter what mall I'm in. Because you never really see a Panda Express as a standalone.
And if you do,
Sometimes
it's
there
a
are.
weird fever dream.
I saw one in, I think we stop at one in,
Chang.
Yeah. He owns 2,600 locations. They did $3.7 billion last year, and he owns them all individually.
I think we saw one in Vail. Like when we land in Denver driving to Vail, I think they have a Panda Express as a standalone because we always stop at it for the kids.
But I mean,
man,
that's a huge move to have 2,600 stores and be like, they're not going to franchise.
I would just
own
start to
them all.
equate every mall with lo mein. I would see a mall and think and smell lo mein and be like, I'm going in there. And get some.
I got a bone to pick with Andy.
What's
With
wrong?
Andy. I went to a Panda Express in Port St. Lucie, and it was terrible.
What was terrible about it?
They ran out of everything.
How can Chinese be terrible?
Not Chinese, that particular Panda Express. So me and
Who's Andy?
Andy's the owner.
Andy's the owner. His name is Andrew.
Call him
I call him
Andrew.
Andy, though.
You know the owner?
You
go
know him
back.
like that.
Call him. Like, Andy, you did me dirty.
Let's get him on the phone right now.
Yeah.
Do you
Jamie,
want-
pull him up.
He's on the plane right now. Otherwise, I would call him. But, Andy, we got to talk about this. It was a horrible experience.
I don't know. I go into Chinese thinking this might be the end of me. This might not be the
No,
best.
we were just
experience.
talking about how much we love.
I love Chinese.
I love
Lo mein.
Chinese. It tastes
I love
great.
Chinese people, and I love the food.
You know, it's
That's the other
No
thing.
one really loves Chinese people. Or
No, I love those
Asian
Chinese people.
Who?
Listen,
This guy.
Me.
I'm gonna tell you something.
Why? Why do I?
You ever think about this? And this is a question that I don't think will ever be answered because it doesn't make sense. You go to a Chinese, most Chinese places are all you can eat buffets. You go to the Chinese place, all you can eat buffet. Then you've got your hole in the wall Chinese.
Yeah.
But then the food comes back. Most of it is starchy carbs. You got lo mein, you got rice, you got most of it's fried food. How are the people in China also
So
skinny with those Chinese
Because
restaurants
they don't
everywhere?
Eat that.
They don't eat that.
true.
They just feed it to us.
Wait a minute.
And we eat it.
In China, they don't eat that. I'm telling you, it's
Just
all
called
in
food.
China.
They
it's
don't
all
eat
like
they don't
lean
eat,
duck.
they don't eat egg foo young.
No. I never found when I went to China. I didn't meet one General Tsao.
I don't even know if he was a real person.
Yeah, was General Tsao a general? Is he really that renowned? Were his battle axe that great?
Wasn't that General Lee's arch nemesis?
General Tsao.
I thought it was.
Right. I didn't meet one
In the Civil War,
Yeah.
I didn't
That's what
meet
I
one
thought.
beef and
I know
broccoli.
that.
He doesn't exist either.
So
because General Lee was from the South.
Yeah.
So General
Robert
General
E. Lee.
So was from the North.
Oh, I thought that was the name of the Dukes of Hazzard's car.
North
the
China.
It
General
was
Lee.
the General Lee.
Yeah, I
But
didn't know it was
General
a real
So
person.
must have been like from the North.
Yeah,
he was
I
a
think so.
Yankee.
How about the people that say General Tiso? You ever hear those people?
never heard of him.
They like the watch brand.
Yeah.
Yeah. My dad calls it General Sal's, but then again, his name is Sal. So
That's true.
Is
What a
is
bunch
Benihana's considered?
Benihana is.
That's Japanese. Benihana's Japanese.
You just
Well,
went
it's
there, didn't you?
Asian. It's in the family.
Yeah, they're
Right,
Asian.
cousins.
not Pan Asian.
What is Pan Asian?
That's like across all the Asians. Pan, from the Latin root word meaning all.
So this is just gonna be my vent episode. Had another bad experience.
Tell me.
Benihana's. We went to Benihana's. What was this? This was a couple days ago. My sister was down here. The food was good. It wasn't the food. It was the people, and they were not Asian people. Typically, Asian people give me good service. We get along well. But so we were at the sitting down at the table, and this kid comes up, our server, and he's like, cool kid, and he was taking our drink orders. He was like, hey, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? And then, we don't drink tap water from the restaurants. We figured the water's gonna be horrible. So my sister was like, no, I want a water from over there. So he says, oh, you want that Aquaferna? And I was
Love that brand.
Aquaferna.
so the reason I was so disturbed by the pronunciation of this was it gave me a feel of like the state of our culture and like the young people. And as a father, I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, the suitors are not looking too strong out here.
Wait, because he said the water wrong?
Everything.
What
It's because
what
of everything.
grieved you so bad? Like what was it? Oh, because this guy was a kid.
Yeah, so he was a kid, and it made me think of like
He didn't show you any
he was the
respect.
sum of the potential of would-be suitors. Like this is the state of the youth at this time in our country, and I'm like, man, we are
When Bella and Jazzy get older,
we are bad off. Yeah,
they'll
so,
bring
you,
like a
so this
boyfriend
might
home
not
and
really
Ralph's gonna
affect
be
you
like,
yet because you're not there yet. But it just made me think like we are in rough shape.
He's going to be
When
like,
he
young
can't
man, pronounce the name of this water.
Yeah,
So
that's the straw that broke the camel's back.
well, it was that and
Aquaferna.
and then
Get
it was,
out.
And then it was
Heck
also,
no.
and then it was also the other kid, the other young man. He wasn't a kid who was like in the restaurant, like yelling to the back, just yelling at the kitchen while he's walking past people who were like trying to eat with their families, and it's just like, oh my
Be
god.
honest with you, Ralph. When people say, and I'm sure you heard this as a kid, like, man, people are different. When I was growing up, like they always like romanticize the past. What was it that different?
I'm not that old. One,
Well, you're
just extremely young.
yeah.
And so for you, like I said, you're a little bit younger, so it really doesn't pertain
So
to
Alex,
you.
leave. Get out.
But what I will say, it actually does pertain to you a little bit.
Yeah.
Because right now, brother Alex is in a single
It's a season
of singleness.
It's a season.
So are you dating right now?
No, I'm not. It's a season.
What do you feel like for you? Obviously, you're waiting on God to bring you a wife.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead.
But do you feel like the pickings out there are like no bueno?
I don't know how to answer that question without being like extremely insulting. I don't know. I don't think about it like that. I think when people who are older look at Gen Z, they're like, well, and I get it partially. But then again, I don't think it's as bad as y'alls have been saying. I think people romanticize their childhood. So I think when people say like, kids don't work hard, which in part is true, but I think like also, I don't think it's just.
It's as bad as we make it out to be.
I don't think maybe not. I don't know. You're closer to my age than he is. You're 10 years older than me, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So
am I 20 years older than you?
Close.
How old are you?
Jesus Cristo.
Getting there. How old are you? 36?
37.
37.
You're
Yep.
19.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty close.
Yeah, 18 years older.
I don't know. I don't necessarily think that it would be like that big. I mean, the difference I think is obviously going to be like the households that the kids your age are growing up in.
Right.
Are like the deteriorated households that maybe like our age group didn't have. I think it started to shift a little bit in my age group. But I mean, if you go back and you look at like your parents' age group, the majority of households that kids were growing up in weren't broken homes. Most of them had at least loose ties to Christianity, but most of them attended church. And if not, their grandparents definitely did.
For sure.
So, I mean, like, you're watching the slow deterioration. So I don't think that you could just pin it all on Gen Z and be like, oh, these kids are this or these kids are that. I think that each generation is experiencing the slow deterioration of the previous generation being passive on things that they should have stood a little bit more firm on.
Yeah.
I just had a conversation the other day where somebody was like, you'll see as things get older, man, you're going to have to decide, like, sometimes there'll be times where you want to hang with your kids and you may have to be like, well, we just can't do church this Sunday because, the kids want to do this, they want to do that. And at first I was like, no. And then I started thinking, like, it's not that I would make that decision, but I see where people make that decision, where they go, like, I'm working 6 days a week. I never get to do anything with the kids. The only day I have off is Sunday. And it's obviously a multitude of factors where people are working multiple jobs now. They're doing what they can to make ends meet. People are obviously mismanaging their money because,
they're mismanaging their time.
Their time and their money. And so there's a multitude of factors that go into it. But I understand I don't believe that, my parents' generation and the generation before that just made like this staunch decision to be like, well, our family's just not going to go to church anymore. We've changed our mind. We're not going to go anymore. Or our family's changed our mind. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do that. I think it's the slow deterioration where it's like, as a dad, you have kids and they come up to you and they look at you and they're like, we want to do this or we want to do that. And if you're working 6 days a week to make those ends meet because of the fact that, whatever the factors are that's making you do that, you would have a part of you where you'd be like,
every single time I have to say no.
I could see where people would be like, all right, we can miss one Sunday. And, then it starts that spiral where it's like the kid's like, well, Dad, we already skipped one Sunday. Can we do this? We want to go to the water park. We want, they're in baseball, they're in whatever.
Right.
So,
AAU.
I don't necessarily hold Gen Z, accountable for every single thing. But I mean, obviously, at some point you have to take accountability for your actions and your choices. But I do believe that it's just the slow deterioration of people being passive on these things. People not standing on like, no, this is what our family does. I mean, you talk about it all the time.
Most people aren't principled.
No.
I mean, the average person, probably larger than the average, they're not principled people. People don't even hold any kind of principles at all. I think, and I bet if you went back and asked, I think the deterioration started to really, really begin in the 40s and 50s.
I was going to say, 50s.
Because after that,
the war.
After people came back from the war, women started to work when the men were away at war in World War II. And then things began to change. They never did return federal income tax like they said it was only going to be around for the war effort and then it was going to go away. Now you're being taxed more heavily than ever, and it was never supposed to increase. But then what you're working toward is getting two parents in the home both working jobs. Then we started to have latchkey children that TV raised them.
What is that term?
It's kids that had to let themselves in the house when they got home from school because their parents are both working.
Oh, I'd never heard that.
So you had generation being raised on television, TV dinners, parents come home from work. And then you have the rebellion of the 60s, the things that happened, civil unrest of the 70s and 60s, and all the things that are starting to happen where, things blew up and the economy blew up in the 80s, and probably marketing. If you looked at the history of it, probably with the rise in marketing and then the data that started to come back to corporations on how to better market to the populace, people were spending money in the 80s like nobody's business.
And then in the 70s,
and I think what ended up happening is that you had recession in the 70s, but I think what ended up happening is, because when I look at a situation like you described, where it's like I work 6 days a week and I only have Sunday to do stuff with my kids, and I'm just trying to pay the bills, I feel like too many people, and this is probably the majority of people in America, which could be evidenced by the statistics of credit card debt, which is over 90%, is that people live beyond their means. That's the largest. I would lay it at the feet of people not having the discipline to live below their means because of obviously lack of self-control, but really wanting to keep up with everybody else that they see in the culture.
Well, there's like a fictitious baseline now, where it's like if you don't have the new iPhone, and if you don't have there's like a fictitious baseline of things that it's almost like the entry level American starter pack would be like a new iPhone, like a good car, $400 sunglasses from Sunglass Hut, and it's like.
But what's funny is that it translates to every bracket of wealth, like how an example would be this, like someone that's truly a millionaire, like a multimillionaire, unless it's that 1% of people. You can read the book entitled The Millionaire Next Door. That book shows you what 90% of millionaires in America look like, and what because they interviewed them and went through their stuff. What they look like is that they drive a car that's 2 years old at least or more. Mm-hmm. They wear basic blue jeans and T-shirts. Hey. They live in small houses, and they don't wear Gucci loafers, and they don't wear Louis Vuitton belts, and they don't have Prada sunglasses. So the people that truly have money, the millionaires, don't look like the people that just got their tax return back. Right. That blew up Foot Locker and Sunglass Hut.
Tell Lewis I'm on my way.
I need to speak to Lewis. Is he in today?
Tell him I'm on my way.
And so, but it translates to every level too. It's the same way that whatever podcast that was Kanye went on when he told them millionaires wear chains.
Yeah, and they were feeling it too.
They all looking at the chains like, yeah, that's right. And he said billionaires don't wear chains, and he didn't have one on. Yeah. And they were all like, oh, But he was describing that same principle at the higher level than just poor to middle class to wealthy millionaires. He was going from millionaires to billionaires. Yeah. And there's an even change in that wealth bracket where there are things that millionaires will do that billionaires won't do. Right. So I think that's true on every level, that the people that go higher are the ones that learn how to control themselves and to deny themselves at some level. And that's truly
that's a funny thought.
The problem that
if you asked anybody probably your age and maybe a little younger, do you feel like there's more money or more millionaires now than there was 30 years ago? People would say yes, I think emphatically, because they're all over the internet, they're all over YouTube. I believe that people would think that. But I don't think that to be true. I think that now people are just
no. There are more. There's way more millionaires now than there used to be.
You think?
I think there are far
really?
more. Oh yeah. There's more discovered and new wealth in America now than there ever has been in the history of America.
Because I think about the contrast between like Miami and West Palm Beach. Like West Palm Beach is loaded, but those people aren't walking around with Gucci loafers and Louis. They have money, but they don't care if you know it. They know they. Well,
there's
money.
a difference between old and new money, but the money's still there.
Right.
So like that does change the habits. But no, there's far more millionaires now than there ever has been, and a lot of these millionaires are now becoming first generation millionaires. It's not inherited wealth.
I mean, like look at this whole thing, like this whole creator economy that never existed.
Right.
Like the Island Boys. How could that have happened 20 years ago? Like,
couldn't.
That couldn't.
The internet changed everything when it came to wealth.
And I think that's part of the reason why the debt consumer debt is probably so high now as well is because now with access to social media, I'm trying to keep up. So I'm basing my real life on somebody else's highlight reel, and it's just not.
But not
it's
only
not
that,
sustainable.
It's not only that. It's that. It's not that just we can see those things. The author Tim Ferriss, who wrote Tools of Titans and 4-Hour Work Week and 4-Hour Body, those books, Tim Ferriss won't even keep social media apps on his cell phone because he said those corporations are far too good at what they do for me to risk my life having those apps on my phone. Because it's not just the fact that you can see other people's stuff. It's that the social media companies have so much data on you, that they know exactly how to market products to you perfectly and hit your dopamine so hard that they know how to make you spend money. And people are spending money left and right because of the marketing that they're... You used to think about it. It used to be you'd had to pick up a magazine or a newspaper or watch a commercial on TV to get marketed to. Now it's happening to you every few seconds as you're on social media. You're getting hit with stuff.
I wonder a day how many ads we see. I saw like this. I don't know. I'm not going to try to recreate it from memory, but I saw this crazy statistic of how many ads we see a day. Let me look it up.
I guarantee you, it's like
how many ads we see a day.
Thousands.
Between 4,000 and 10,000 ads in a single day.
Yeah, I agree with that because you're getting hit all the time.
Man.
I'd like to actually see, too, what the average amount of time is people spend on social media.
Oh, it's probably
more than 8
crazy.
hours, I think.
It's probably crazy.
Do you remember the transition when, like, TV commercials started increasing on TV shows?
Oh, yeah.
I remember when it used to be like there was a commercial at the beginning, one in the middle, and then one after the show was over. And then if you had a really popular show, there would be like a fourth commercial block during the show. But I remember growing up being like irritated when they started instituting more commercials, and I'd be like, "Dang, this show's got a ton of commercials. Like, what the heck is going on?"
Yeah, now if you watch an hour show, it's 42. Because I just look at it, it's 42 minutes of show.
That's right.
18 minutes of commercials
that's how
and
I grew up.
ads.
That's how I grew up. Is that because
But
I remember?
I like remember that. And if there was like a non-popular show, you would have no commercials because like nobody was paying for that time.
PBS has no commercials.
We're back to it now. You don't get any commercials on Netflix. You don't get any commercials on
No, you do get commercials on
Netflix.
Was it Hulu or Prime that does
Prime
commercials
does commercials, right?
Hulu does commercials. Prime does commercials. I think even Max does commercials on stuff. Because remember what they're doing to you now, which is pretty amazing. But some of them are marketing just like their own shows. Apple TV Plus, like you're getting, but when you hit play on a show, you're getting hit with the ad for like 3 other upcoming shows before your show starts. And then there's the recap, and then there's the intro, and then the show starts.
Yep.
So, yeah, you're still getting it. They got to get their money somewhere, somehow. That's the only reason Netflix is just charging to the point where, you know, they can provide it to you without those. But think about what I'm saying. Those people that are struggling so hard and then they can't keep their principled things like going to church. They're living far beyond their means. And so the only reason they have to hustle so hard is because they don't even understand probably the basic ratios, you know, of if you're going to have a place that you live to rent or buy or lease or whatever, you know, don't let it be more.
Is it 25%?
Yeah, they go a little higher than that now. But like what happens is people make it their main. Somebody told me the other day, yeah, sorry, brother, you know, somebody was like, and I don't care. I'm not like asking people to be like, well, we really want to give and whatever, but we're really house poor. It's like, well, okay, well, you're house poor. That you chose to live in a place that you can't truly
House
afford.
poor is like, I have a house, but I'm poor.
No, it's I have a house, and the majority of my money goes to pay for that house.
I don't have money really to do anything.
Imagine
anything else.
Because I'm like, it's like overextending yourself to pay a car
Right.
payment you can't afford, but you want to look good in the car.
Imagine explaining that to someone in another country. Like, no, I bought the house and knew I was going to have to sacrifice my other amenities of life just because I wanted to live in this house. People in other countries would be like, you know, they'd be blown away by that.
People spend money on stupid stuff, and then they're just like dissatisfied. It's like they don't even look. They don't even look or manage themselves or manage their life. That's the main thing we suffer with in America. That's why everybody's where they're at. It should never be that 90% of people in the population have credit card debt.
You remember that I just sent you that reel where like they instituted, I think it was at a McDonald's or a Burger King. It was Burger King.
Oh yeah,
They
that was an
instituted-
old ad.
An old ad in the 80s. They instituted
It was Burger King.
cash or credit card on the sign in this small town, and everyone was like up in arms. They were like
Oh, yeah.
doing TV interviews like, you're like, how do you feel about that Burger King is now accepting credit card? They're like, I don't understand. If you don't have the $2.15, you shouldn't be at Burger King.
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to call to Manhattan?
One guy said, it'll never last.
Yeah.
You know, credit may be good for things like when you're on vacation or if you're going to get a big purchase, but it'll never last in these small places like this. Like everyone was appalled by it. You know, everybody they interviewed, it was like a local news network.
It was like a breaking story that Burger King was accepting credit cards.
You know what was the number one thing that I used to see when I was in the car business selling people cars? If it was somebody that was like, it would be your generation. The number one thing that I would see as a charge off on people your age's credit bureau was Finger Hut.
What?
Finger Hut. It's like this.
I
It's like
know what
it's
Finger
like
Hut is, but
I
I'm like,
don't-
that
I
would be
don't-
the number one thing.
I don't know what
Yeah.
a finger hut is.
So it's like, what you can order?
they have like anything. They have like it's not
I
Amazon.
feel like women used to order it for like Tupperware. And
No,
stuff.
it's like a knick-knack site. But the reason that people have it is
I do
because you
remember
can
that.
order like things for your house. You can order things like that. But they'll give a credit card to anybody. They will give anybody.
They give
That you can use anywhere.
That
No,
you know
no,
you can
you
only
can
use
only
that-
use
yeah,
it with
Finger
them.
Hut. I do remember that. My
But they'll-
sister used to work at a debt collector, and then
Finger Hut is on every young person's credit bureau, and it's always charged off because that you can get it.
still like. To
You,
the,
well, I mean,
how long have you been out of the car?
I haven't been in the car business now in probably 5 years, 5 years. But I mean, when I was
can't-
in, it was always the same thing. It was Finger Hut for $500 charged off because I don't even know if they were confirming that these people had jobs. It was just like, if you have a pulse, you can have a credit card with us and get $500 worth of stuff.
What are the things that I would buy? I don't understand knickknacks. Like,
It's
just
just
like
like
random stuff, like an Amazon kind
it would be like the knockoff version of Amazon.
Oh.
It's like non-nice things, like cheesy
Is
things.
it like
that you could buy.
Alibaba?
Yeah, kind of like that.
Okay.
Yeah, but you could order stuff on there, but it always
Go to
just made me laugh.
fingerhut.com.
See
I was
what
about
they
to
have.
say.
When you said that, I was like, what? Let's see what we can order. Finger
Yeah, I'd
Hut.
never even heard of that place.
You never heard of Finger Hut? I heard.
I've heard of Sunglass Hut, Pizza
That's what
Hut.
I thought of.
Never heard of
Been to
Finger
all
Hut.
the huts, never
Pizza
Finger
Hut.
Hut.
Jabba the Hut.
You say that like you have a disdain for Pizza Hut.
No, I used
I
to.
don't-
I
I
used
hate
to work
Pizza
at
Hut.
Pizza Hut.
You did?
Yeah,
Dang.
I blew up on those pizzones.
As my one friend said, I'm tired of having to get my sunglasses and pizza at two different huts.
Yeah.
Oh, there's the credit card thing. If you're starting over.
So the ploy was to build your
Oh, it's
credit,
like,
which is so they would target 18 to 24, and they would get them every time.
Dang. Yeah, it's like a
Knickknacks.
electronics, knockoff AirPods, like kitchen appliances, kids' toys.
If
shoes.
you look at any of these, there's like Instagram gurus now that are like teaching young people how to build credit and like how to do things with their credit, and it's like the worst advice that you could. It's like open a credit card, charge it up, pay it off at the end of the month, and it's like, but that's their first
You're
go
teaching
to is
them
like
bad
yeah,
habits,
they're
yeah.
like teaching them to create debt, like monstrous amounts of debt, and they're like, the more credit cards you can get, the faster you're going to build your credit, and it's like they're pushing it into them to be in debt.
What do you think is the better way to build credit?
Well, what I always used to tell people when somebody would come in, if it was like a young person and say, I want to build credit, I would tell them, I don't know if they do them here, but in New York, there was a credit union that would do what's called a secured credit card.
That's what I
So
had.
basically, you take $300 of your own money and you give it
can.
to the bank, and then they extend you a line of credit on that money. And then if you ever can't pay or you go into default, they already have the money to make the payments there.
But it's
in
like
the
their
account.
limit was like 500.
No,
whatever-
the limit was
whatever
whatever
you
you
put
put
in.
whatever you put
Yeah.
down was your
Right.
limit.
Yeah.
I had that, and I had to call my bank and be like, I can't do anything, like, because it takes a little bit to pay off. And I was like, I need you to increase this, and they're like, you have to wait.
Yeah,
some more
because
money.
you could only put in, so they wouldn't let you go in with like 10,000 and do it. But I think the
Yeah.
credit union there was like $750.
In all honesty, though, what those guys on Instagram are saying is true. Like, that is the best way to build your credit because your credit is determined by your debt to credit ratio, and it's determined obviously by your
ability
payment
to pay
history.
back.
But what a lot of people don't know
But
is
they,
that
they know almost no one has the discipline.
That's
To do
that's
that.
and that's what I think is what you're saying is just like you're teaching them like, hey, run this thing up, and then the reality or the likelihood of you paying it back because you don't have the discipline is slim to
Right.
none. Now it puts you in a cycle of because I don't have the discipline and I've been buying things I can't afford because I've been attempting to build my credit. Now I'm in debt. Now I have things that are
Yeah.
charged off because
Everybody
I bought things
has-
I couldn't afford
everybody
because I
has
didn't
the
have
same
discipline.
trend with them. Everybody's trend with credit cards is like they start off good, and it's everybody. I've heard the story from some people. They're like, I'm going to get a card, and then as soon as I swipe it, I'm going to log into my app right there, and I'm going to pay it.
No,
and
you're
it
not.
starts like that, and then you get like, because people always start out like
That's like me at the
onesie-twosies
buffet.
with
I'm just
credit
gonna get
cards.
one plate. I'm just gonna get one plate,
And then
that's it.
before you know it, instead of
I'm
buying
5 plates deep
$75
at the
worth of
Chinese
gas,
buffet.
you're at Louis Vuitton and you're buying a $1,500 bag.
But man, if that's you, if that's what you're really doing, like you're a moron. Like if you went from $75 of gas to a $3,500 bag at Louis Vuitton, like knowing what's in your account, like you're a straight up noob.
I've talked to kids and they're like, I've literally sat across the table from kids that have credit cards charged off, and they're like, what was tough for me is that every time I bought something on a credit card, it felt like it was free.
But the
Because you
thing,
don't feel the pain of
That's
it.
why.
Right.
That's
So
why
I was-
guys like Dave Ramsey carry cash.
so that's why I was gonna
feel
say
it
too.
leaving.
It hits different when you swipe something for $3,500, or you
Count
have
out
to go
$35
out
$100 bills.
Yeah.
100, 200, and then that pocket is not as fat when you leave.
Right, that's
it
why I
makes,
always carry
it's a-
only nickels.
Bags of nickels.
I thought you
My
were
bu-
just
lighter.
waiting for somebody to say
I have a
something you didn't
friend's
like.
dad
You
that
just-
does that. He
fling it at
only
him.
deals in cash.
Yeah.
He won't even use
that
an
a bad
ATM
idea?
card.
So
So
for
only deal in cash.
If you want to build credit,
if
it's
you
a bad
want to
idea.
build credit is a bad idea, but if you want to feel the pain of buying an expensive item to teach
Like
you,
I think you can do both. Obviously, I mean, being disciplined is like anything else. I mean, you have to just it's like a muscle you have to build. You can't start off if especially if you have an addictive personality, and you're like, man, it's probably not the best idea to give somebody like that a huge open line of
credit
credit
line,
and
yeah.
let them go shopping. It's like you may want to just
start out with
set-
a gas card.
yeah, like set yourself parameters of like I only use this card to like pay for gas for my car and pay for groceries and like one other thing.
You know
and
that
that's
comes
it.
back to though what you were talking about earlier, homes being divided. Mothers and fathers not being in the home and not being taught properly at an early age.
Yeah.
Discipline when it comes to really, because I believe discipline when it comes to like working out, all that stuff transfers over, and that's why I think a lot of times when in sales, when we look at people and we see people who aren't disciplined in their eating, we just think like, oh, this individual isn't sharp.
Yeah,
Because it transfers over to other aspects of your life, but then again you bring that back to, hey, mom and dad didn't teach me about credit. I didn't see mom and dad be disciplined. I saw mom and dad lived on credit, or our lights were getting turned off because we didn't know how to manage money. So again, what we were talking to about how the homes were divided starting in the 50s. Women going to work, things like that. It definitely starts in the home.
What generation do you think it was where it really started being pushed that like it was a sign of independence and strength for a woman to like work and make her own money and stuff, and that it was like
Was that
it was
World War
frowned
II?
upon for women to be a homemaker?
I don't even think that it was thought of that way at that time. But women started to go to work and really do a lot of stuff during World War II.
Yeah, and they had that ad. What's the ad with the lady with the bandana?
Riveter. Yeah, Rosie the Riveter.
And then
So they took factory jobs, they took different jobs because the men were gone, and the war effort was still on. There were still things that had to be produced. The country had to continue on.
Right.
You couldn't just stop because a ton of men went to war. So it was the open door of like women having jobs and careers. But I don't think at that time it was looked at like this is my sign of independence, like I have a job. And I think that all came later. I think it was by necessity that those things happened, but it opened the door to both parents working when the men came back. And then it became normalized that women are getting jobs, women are in the workplace more than ever before. And then I think later you started to get into the, like I'm being fulfilled through my career and and that kind of thing. And it was like you said, it became a feminist position of independence. I don't need a man to provide for me.
No
Yeah.
mans.
Do you think
That's
there's
huge.
Do you think there's anything
Is it
that
still?
could change
Yes.
America
I don't need
and,
no
and kind of swing that back to the point where, like, I think you could probably find that most families now have both parents working. I think that's probably the norm across the board. Is probably
that's true?
I think
No, I
that's
think the divorce rate is still way over. It's over 50% in the United States.
no. I just mean
What
like
demographic are we
Families
talking
that are
about?
No.
together.
I think that you will find that most households have both parents working. If they're divorced, then obviously they're definitely both working. But I'm saying, like, of married
Ones that
households,
still have them
right,
together.
I would say that you could probably find better than 50% of most unified households are still are dual income households. Do you think that there's
Search it up.
anything?
I
that
think
could
they
be-
probably have to be.
Right, that's what
Yeah.
I mean. Do you think that, let's say that somebody like a Vivek gets in and does the things that he's saying, because Trump turned the economy around,
Yeah.
but
No, the answer is no. I know the question
you
you're
don't
gonna
think
ask.
it could ever swing back?
No, because
Immediately
it's,
no.
No, and
Immediately no.
let me just say this: if all taxes went away, if we paid 0% in taxes, state and federal, and anything else, it would still be that way. Because the reason people are like that is because the lack of discipline. It's because of their overextending themselves.
Right. We saw that with the stimmies.
Stimmies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We said, what did he tell us? Hold, before tell him about the meme you saw with the stimulus check.
Oh, that
About
real
the
that was
crab.
like you had 3 stimulus checks to get that AC fixed, but you were eating crab legs.
Now who's boiling?
Now who's boiling? But here's the real question: why do you think that there are groups of people that, and it's large groups of people that are so overextended? One statistic
you're
showed
about
from
to say.
Ramsey, if 90-some% of people had a $500 emergency in
them in
America,
financial
they would
ruin.
have to put it on a credit card. $500
Right.
is, that's not a lot of money. So the question becomes, why are there such large groups of people that are overextended? The answer to that question is there's a standard of living they're not willing to drop below
Right.
in their life. That's why. It may not even be that they have a lack of discipline. It may just be, I refuse to live at that level. Like I see my friend's opinion of me as more important than like financial stability.
And then I think then you're entering into foolishness. Like,
course you are.
You're being a fool.
No, there's no question.
Yeah.
You're a fool at that point.
And
That-
people
that
don't
makes
even
no
realize
sense.
how little people
I'd rather
would
put my
notice.
kids at risk. Like, if anything, if little Timmy breaks his arm, I'd rather my friends think I have it all together than actually being able to take care of my family.
You're no question at a fool point at that point, because I mean, not just biblically, the Bible says a fool spends all that he has.
Right.
And
But on top of that, you're like, that's just the most pure form of pride operating in your life that could, like, my family and I would never live below this standard of living. Like, that's what people are saying.
Walmart.
Never not get Starbucks every day. That
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Starbucks every day. I could like, or it's all of it. Like, how many people that don't have money do you know walking around a Gucci belt, Gucci loafers, all that kind of
You
stuff?
could be in like the inner city in New York, and the kids still have fresh Jordans, and they've still got like that's just the case. It's,
People are walking around with $1,000 cell phones that can't pay their bills.
yeah.
I had a guy texting me, it's $1,000, has no place to go, whatever. And so what ends up happening is there are status symbols people aren't willing to part with. There's a standard of living that people, no matter how much the money they make or have or don't have, they're just not willing to part with this level of living because I feel entitled. I should be living at this level. No matter that I make the money to live here or not, I should be living here. So I'm going to do it, even though it's
and just suffer the consequences.
making me go into debt every single month of my life. I'm just going to do it.
Look it up. I saw a statistic that blew me away because the number like was just astounding to me. The amount of people who make $250,000 who are still paycheck to paycheck.
Oh, there's a lot of those, I bet.
The amount.
You know what's funny? I've said for a long time, I think that $200,000 a year is one of the most dangerous price points to be in because you make enough money there that you can borrow as much money as you want from the bank, but $200,000 a year is really not a lot. I know
they
that's
take
going to sound like a
taxes.
bodacious
No, it
thing to say, but it's going to be
Depends
like,
on depends
People
on
don't
where
use
you
that
live.
word enough anymore.
no,
Bodacious. Sound like you just went to see the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, I did. But
I knew a guy named Bodie in high school. And
people would think that that's a lot of money, but when you start breaking it out, it's not a lot of money when you look at how the people that make $200,000 a year live.
Yeah, I feel
They
like
live
once
like
you
they
make that amount of money,
$500,000 a year.
everything is $1,000.
Everything is $1,000. Every time you leave
Or-
the house is $1,000.
$1,000.
Yeah.
Or when you go out to eat, every time it's $150.
Yeah, that is a dangerous place to be because you get into a bracket of people where
A third.
Astounding, right?
a third of people who make $250,000 or more are paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
And think about that, like where you live at. So that means people in Atlanta where the cost of living is not like what it is here. Those same people.
So here's the deal: if you make $250,000 a year, you can live in $1 million home.
Mm-hmm.
You can drive some of the nicest cars that you can buy. You know, you can do all those things. You can, but see, the question is, if you make $250 a year, $250,000 a year, are you willing to drive a 2-year-old, 3-year-old car like that you buy new? It's new to you, but it's 3 years old. Are you willing to do that? Because those are the moves. See, here's what we don't get. Those are the moves people
put you
make
into
that allow you to build further wealth. So here's the problem. You think about things people do that stop their wealth from growing and things people do that cause wealth growth. Like, for example, you can take a bunch of money as a person that makes that kind of money a year. You can take a bunch of money and you can own a bunch of Louis Vuitton stuff, and you can own you can go on a bunch of vacations and buy an extra car, or you can invest it in real estate. You can take money and make a down payment on a rental home or something like that, or an Airbnb. Those are the moves people make that cause them to grow their wealth.
Right.
Or, for example, you could take that extra money, spend the time up at night, start a small business side hustle that makes you more money beyond your job, that kind of thing. Or you can be the person that like allows the money that you have just cause you to spend more money, and then end up being the person that's like, oh, I make $250,000 a year, but man, after I pay my payment on my whatever, and then my house payment and my all whatever, I got nothing left over really. Because then you start hanging with people that are at about a little bit of it's like that story Kevin Hart told, where he started hanging with people that had real money.
Yeah.
Like he started getting wealthy, but then he started hanging with people that had
There's
real
levels
money.
to this.
He said there's levels, and he said they spend money on a different level.
But so like Kevin Hart noticed that even them, he's like, I'm not there.
Oh yeah, they went to the clubs and they were buying all kind of whatever, different champagnes and all that. And he was like, that's when he was like, I did it once. They wanted me to go out again and again, and I was like, that's when he started doing like, I got a checking and a savings. It's the way it works. It takes 4 business days from my savings to my checking.
Yeah.
But like he realized that like these people operate on a different level of money than I do.
You know what's crazy? Well, I don't know how to exactly look this up, but the difference between, we were talking about the difference between $1 million and $1 billion.
Oh, yeah, the seconds.
Could you look that up? I forgot.
Yeah, let me pull it up real quick.
The difference between $1 million and $1 billion in seconds. And then we were talking about one Sunday before church setting up. We were talking about like, it's crazy that we don't like Americans don't really understand the level of prosperity of Middle Eastern sheiks.
Yeah.
A million seconds is 11 days, and then 1 billion seconds.
It's 14 days.
32 years.
No, it's yeah, it's 31 years.
31 years.
So you think
11
about the
days to 31
years. And then you think about the difference to $1 trillion. What did we look at? It was like 1,500 years or something like that.
Something crazy.
But it is funny when you think about how devalued $1 million is, because that's everyone's thing is like, gotta make $1 million, gotta make $1 million.
Money.
No.
Grant Cardone said, the poorest I ever felt in my life was when I looked at my account and had $1 million, because I looked and realized the mistakes I can make at this level can wipe that out way faster than when I had $100,000. Because you make a mistake at your $100,000 level, you lose 30, 40 grand. He's like, at $1 million level, you're making mistakes that'll wipe your whole account out. He's like, and I knew then I had something to lose. And it's crazy if you think about it, because there are people that are oil sheiks and
it's unfathomable.
Well, it's like I said, they don't even. It's not even that they have trillions of dollars.
Right.
It's that they're worth trillions, because they can say to the United States, like, I want the most expensive piece of property you have in Manhattan, or you can no longer buy oil from us. And all of a sudden, then they can get what they want without the transaction of
That
money.
sounds wrong to do that to somebody.
I know.
Yeah.
That feels like
But they're
manipulation.
doing it.
I don't even know how their pastor
Unchecked
feels. How does it
spending.
think their pastor feels about them doing that?
Yeah. They ain't even tithing on that
Yeah, I
money.
was going to say he's just happy to get the
Because
tithe
if you
check.
do stuff like that, I feel like that's manipulation and it's wrong.
I know.
How do you think those real estate agents feel? Probably makes their feelings feel bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do they sleep?
Who is the who is it? Kevin Hart that runs like the inner city, like teaching young people how to make money. Is that Kevin Hart or what?
don't know.
There's one of those celebrities that does that. He does it in like Atlanta, and he does it.
I know Steve Harvey does like a youth men's retreat where he takes them out to like I think it's a property he has in Texas, and just teaches them just about different aspects of life.
I used to
helps
think
them
that
create
was funny.
business ideas, and then like teaches them about credit and wealth, and then really honestly like how to be like a successful young man.
Yeah. I used to think it was funny when people would say, like, oh, this person's like teaching you how to manage money, because it should be as simple as like, if you don't have enough to buy that, don't spend it. But then you learn that people now are like, what's credit? Like, they don't even understand the function of credit.
Listen,
they don't
I
understand.
I understood from a very basic level when I graduated high school. They don't teach you that in high school. They don't teach you.
I had a class that taught me how to balance a checkbook.
Yeah.
Which is a useless trait nowadays. No one's balancing.
I don't
their
even have a checkbook.
Right, neither do I. It was funny. I was working with Alina on some of her schoolwork last year, and she answered a question, and she brought me her quiz, and she had gotten the same question wrong twice in a row. So I was like, no, you got to go back and do it again. Well, the third time now, she had memorized, and I said, here's the thing: you don't know how to solve for that answer.
You just know
You've just memorized the answer. I said, that's the issue. You can get through school and get good grades by just simply memorizing the answers to the questions. You don't know how to actually get to that answer. If you know how to get to the answer, then that's where the real value is. But if you look at school,
That's a whole word.
that's what I mean. It's a word for somebody today.
You know how to get to the answer.
Put that on a T-shirt. I don't hear nobody. But that's what school is now. It's all, if you can memorize.
If you're good at testing,
Yeah.
Yep.
And if you're not good at testing, good luck. There's
And
no way to quantify you.
It's a cliched joke to be like, oh, I don't use anything in school. But I mean, like, what
talking about
would they
drugs?
teach you in high school now that you would use
That.
by and large? I mean, math class
English.
and
English
English.
and history.
English
History.
and math.
I think going back to the
Wood
Gen
shop.
Z thing, I think probably the problem, if there is a problem with Gen Z, is not
Education.
It's something that even education doesn't solve. It's common knowledge of like common history things, like common U.S. history, common science, and then common sense.
Remember that
common
Target
sense
video
is-
you did?
Common Core.
The Target video you did for last
Oh
gen?
man, I did this video where I went into Target and I asked basic like Christmas trivia things because I was giving away gift cards, and I asked this dude, I was like, what did I say? Oh, I said, what country did the Christmas tree originate from? All right, like maybe you don't know that. He goes, oh, what did he say? He goes, oh, America. Oh no, that a state, ain't it? He's like, that's not a country, that's a state, ain't it? I was like, I'm gonna pull it up. It's just pretty.
The way you were talking, was that man Asian?
He was,
Of Asian descent.
yeah, he was from Vermont. let me pull that up because it is pretty crazy. But
Give me some pushback on this. I'm starting to feel as
No.
though
no.
general education is almost worthless. General education.
What would you classify under general education?
Like just kind of like taking everything. Like for example, I went to high school and I had general education, right? So in order to pass, in order to graduate high school, for example, let's go to the maths. And you go to high school, you have to pass Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and Geometry.
Yeah.
You can't leave high school without passing those classes. Now, I went beyond that, and it was a massive mistake. I should have never taken trigonometry.
It's pointless.
Because I got in there and realized to myself, number one, I'll never use this ever in my life, and I hate math anyway. Why did I take this course? I was like feeling like good about myself because I had 2 years, I'd gone through 3 classes.
Yeah.
I was like, this is stupid. I'm a junior taking trigonometry like an idiot, and I don't understand it, and I don't care about it. I could but I couldn't even care about it enough to focus my mind on it.
To try.
But leave trigonometry out of the equation in calculus, like app calculus. Let's go back to just the algebra, the geometry, and the algebra 2. I feel like I don't use
Use that in
those.
basic life.
I feel like I don't use
I've heard
those.
the argument though, and I'm with you on this, but I've
Like
heard
geometry basics, like finding out like the square
is a
footage of a
square.
room, or no, I mean like I can like multiply and figure out the square footage area of a room or that kind of stuff.
Of a container, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but I mean like other than that, when am I even really doing that?
Yeah, you just look at
When are you looking? You're like, you know what? I'm gonna figure
What's
the
the
volume,
volume
of
of that
this container
cube?
out the long way.
How much water can I fill in this room right now?
Yeah.
I want to know. No, but so the pushback I've heard on that is it's not like I've heard like teachers, you know that thing like Jubilee where they get two opposing groups into a room and they talk out an issue. It'll be like Christians and atheists discuss different things or whatever. You've seen
No, I've not seen it.
You've seen Jubilee. Okay. So they got in like teachers and then like homeschoolers or whatever. And they were like, the thing isn't the general knowledge that you learn, but it's like the connections in your brain build certain problem solving techniques that you use. Like when you learn how to balance an algebraic equation, you're then learning how to connect those neurons in your brain. I thought it was BS, but
I feel like that is
it's
not necessarily true.
I don't agree.
I think you can learn to learn.
Yeah.
Meaning like I think learning or education, the ability to obtain education, the ability to learn something can be learned.
Yes.
But can you
How to
be gifted?
become a like
Oh my God,
learning
we're not doing that.
like learning how to become a better student. You
Yes.
can learn how to become a better student.
Right.
You can learn how to learn better.
Right.
But I don't think that's necessary. Like that's why I think there's some things that are a waste of time. Like it, and I know they started to try to push this like when I was leaving school. But like man, they really want you to try to choose what you're going to do with your life at such an early age. But maybe, and I don't think you can necessarily. Everybody's going to know what they want to do with their life. But maybe that's not a bad path because then it's like you customize what you're going to learn for what you're going to do with your life.
I don't think in theory it's a good idea. I don't think
Now
it'll
English,
work
I
out.
don't disagree with English.
Yeah.
Because obviously that's a class
that people
that
need more of.
There's no question about that.
Like I can't if I ask anyone on the street what a semicolon how it's used,
Yeah, they would know.
blank stare.
But
Like, mine's
I think
doing
you
good.
could. Maybe there's areas of like history. Like history's great.
I think history.
But like but
is important.
with history, it's like what necessarily am I going to do with world history?
Not
I
in
would
a
say history. Like if I were gonna rank the importance of classes, I'd say
English.
number 1,
Yeah.
then history number 2.
Nope.
No.
What would you say?
Phys ed. No, I'm kidding.
Maybe personal finance. That's an elective, but that could be number 2.
That wasn't an elective when I was in school.
no,
That
it
was
wasn't
for
when
me.
I was in
Personal
school.
finance.
Yeah.
No, but
That's probably where I had that checkbook balancing.
Yeah.
I
thing.
see
Maybe
what
they
you're
only
saying
taught
though.
that
As far as like, because
over by
I don't even
General
know,
Booth.
would it even be worth if
I
you
think
really thought
American
about
history, 100%.
Yeah, if you live in
Not world
America,
history, probably.
if you live in America, it's probably good to learn American history. But what do I care about world history? Like events
Like
that
European
shaped
history.
culture is different,
Yeah.
right? Like if you're learning in history events that shaped culture,
Right.
that's a different thing than just learning random world history. And maybe there is
Well, the
element
all that
of
is
that.
encapsulated in world history.
So is
they'll
there-
say.
Would
Yeah, I
you
would
say-
say that's probably true. But like science,
So I think
like
that
what am I
is-
going to do with that?
a waste.
Especially once you get past like
You
when
could quiz
start
me right
putting
now on the
math
periodic
and
table. I got
science-
no idea.
But why would you care? Why would you need it? Why would it's
Compound light microscope.
what would you even need if you really think about it? What would you even need anything more than basic addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division?
Reading,
Even like-
writing,
well, no, but
arithmetic.
I mean like for math, you
Yes.
would not need anything, even like long division. When are you ever?
stopped teaching that
When
when
are
I was
you
in
ever posed with this situation?
Brooklyn's still doing it right now. Long division, yeah.
When
That's
have
good 'cause
you
they
ever
stopped
been
doing it.
posed with this situation of being like, dang, I really need to know what 2,436 divided by 352 is? It's like
Yeah,
you're
I mean, I
never
guess
gonna
it's
have-
something that you need to know how to do, but it's like everyone has, and I know that's like a bad thing to like say, like, well, we're just going to put all of our faith in technology and whatever. But I get that, but it's like there aren't times that I'm using my science knowledge,
ever.
you know, or my world history knowledge, or even some of that math knowledge that's like I had to pass to get through high school, and there are things that this generation and every generation needs to grasp and understand. I'll be honest with you, Carolyn and I had a long conversation. I'm talking about hours. We were in the car driving somewhere, and we were like, because she, you know, because of her being homeschooling all the kids, it's like, what are the elements that make a child smart and successful as they grow older? And we debated all these different things and filtered it down, came to the end of it. that the two main areas that make a child successful and smart are the ability to read well with comprehension and to write well, to express their thoughts in writing. Those are the two main things that really transfer into every area of your life, like whether you want to get a promotion at your job, whether you want to get a job, whether you want to get clients, deal with clients, whether you want to have relationships with people. You're not going to be able to have proper relationships if you can't communicate properly your thoughts and emotions.
Yeah, and I see that a lot. Like when I'm like looking to hire for younger kids, it's amazing to me, like how a kid will stand out, like just by a couple things. So one, manners, yes sir, no sir. That punctuality. Those two things right off the top are huge, and then also like it's almost like these kids haven't even been taught how to shake somebody's hand and look them in the eye.
They haven't.
Right.
That's a huge.
Who teaches that?
So
A father does.
yeah.
Right.
So I mean those three things right there, kids, if you're listening.
All the kids that follow this podcast.
Well,
Listen to me,
to
kids.
me, if you're
Is this on YouTube, kids?
This is on YouTube.
if you're 18 to 25, it's amazing to me how many kids, young person,
Young
young
bloods.
bloods, aka
What's blood doing?
when you're shaking somebody's hand, look them, and it's so funny. And I was somewhere and I heard a woman telling a young man, he was like 7 or 8, she was teaching him, when you shake my hand, she was like, now look me in the eye. She said, no, more firmer. Like use more strength when you shake my hand and then look me in the eye. And I thought that was like, man, that kid is going to remember that.
Because that will get you further in life than any chemistry equation ever could. That will
Me
get
and
you.
Carolyn talked about that one day when we were over at the house. She was like, you know what's crazy is the younger people that I talk to, the less eye contact they can hold when I'm talking to them.
It's almost like
They start like darting.
I think there's a correlation between insecurity and like being able to look people. Well, obviously, but it's like what do you have to be insecure about at like 8? And like, well, I think at that point you just haven't been taught.
It's no, I don't think. I mean, I think there's probably people's home lives are a wreck, and then the insecurity stems from the rejection they may have felt from their dad leaving or whatever that might be. It starts earlier than you think. They say most people's personalities are firmed up and pretty much set in stone by like 5 years old.
That's crazy.
5 to 6 years old, you're like in that place where, who you're going to be is like firmed up, and it's crazy.
Don't tell me that, because Jazz had a neck tattoo of USA coming out of kids' church.
At least it wasn't Russia or China.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, train them up.
Got to look at the upside.
That's right.
Shouldn't be wearing neck tats at 5 though.
But it happens.
I heard she runs that kids class though.
She
Got
she
the
has
neck tats.
But I will say she is taking after me. She is an entrepreneur. She's running a dice game on
good.
the side.
It's good.
Taking all the tithe
Whatever
money
you
from
can
the
do.
kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think those are very, like reading and writing for sure. Like if you can do those two things, if you can properly communicate your thoughts, feelings, emotions, and if you can see, because here's the thing I find, if you can continue to be a student after you're forced to be a student, those are the successful people. 80% plus of successful people read for their career after they get out of school. There was a whole list that, which I can't believe he caught flack for that. Dave Ramsey put out a bunch of different things that rich people do that poor people don't do.
Right.
He caught a ton of flack for that, but it was just statistics.
Right.
And one of them was like 80-some% of rich people continue to read for their career after school, and only like 18% of poor people do that. So it's
Isn't that in like the rich dad poor dad kind of thought? Isn't that in that?
Yeah. Well, it's like what you're trained to do. Like the knowledge, the wisdom is truly, that's the wealth.
Yeah.
The wisdom and the ability to apply it is the true wealth.
Right.
It's not like, so that, and I think that's where we're at, is like people don't have, he tries to hire somebody and you can't get him to even return calls. You can't get them to show up on the first day of work.
Right.
You can't. So it's like having a father tell you, like, we don't quit things.
Yeah.
Right.
You started it, you're going to finish it to the end.
So here's a statistic that echoes what you said. So speaking of Dave Ramsey, he says Ramsey Solutions conducted what it calls the largest study of millionaires ever, with 10,000 participants. You want to take a guess on what the percentage was of millionaires who don't have a college degree?
87.
I would say
87.
80.
Yep, 88.
Dang.
Yeah.
I would have thought it's high, but I wouldn't think it's that high.
I would like to know
That's
what the
really-
statistic is of people that go to college and then actually operate in what their major is after they
super low.
graduate. It's probably less than 10%.
You know what would be a really interesting, and I bet you could easily get this statistic, would be the average age someone graduates college and then the average age when they pay off their student loan debt.
Many of them don't.
That would be like disheartening to
like
see
a lot of
that.
people
I
die
bet
with.
it'd be more
It's probably
disheartening.
something like 22.55.
Oh, dude.
I bet it's more people. You could just look up how many people actually pay off their student debt. Most people probably let it go into default and never do anything with it because they don't do anything in that field where they were studying, so they don't end up. And most people now, I forget what I was reading, but like most people go with like a vague major where they're
Business.
like they don't
Arts.
have anything they're actually learning. They're just in college because they feel
what
like
is
they
it?
should.
Liberal-
That's what
liberal
they
arts,
say.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. Because that's what
Philosophy.
they're telling you to do. You got to get a college degree.
Right.
I majored
Yeah.
in metal shop, which was great.
Yeah, it's a scam. It's a racket.
It's a
You,
scam.
you should college is a scam.
College
You
is
should
a
you should
Says the
you should Google that. Like
Like
what,
college
what's
dropout.
the average
Average
age
age of
student
paying
loan
off.
is paid
While
off?
we're on the subject, I just want you to hear this. Hold on, we'll skip past that.
Hold on.
Well, that's not that. So this guy,
My name is Yoda. What city was baby Jesus born in? In heaven.
Heaven.
I mean, in what country did the Christmas tree originate? I ain't gonna lie to you, I don't even know where all the countries is, but I'm gonna say America.
Hold on, time out. Where was this?
I don't know where all the. I don't know what.
Where
all the
where was
countries-
this at?
Target.
No, I'm sorry. Which city was
Virginia
it?
Beach, Virginia, where we lived.
What area of Virginia Beach?
No, like in Red Mill, like nice, not Red Mill.
Dang it.
Yeah, you trying?
Golly.
Well, no, America's a country. It's
That's a
Germany.
bad one.
It's Germany. You're gonna have to a lot of bleeping out to do this. That's fine. What famous Christmas song was originally written for Thanksgiving? And we wish you a Merry Christmas.
Yep. That's
And we're moving to China.
Oh, that's sad.
See,
But-
so these are the people who want to marry your daughter,
it ain't
which is
happening.
why Jasmine is not running dice games. She's going to be self-sufficient woman.
Oh man,
No, this is what I
I
was.
see what you're saying.
Yeah.
there. You won.
I get
So
it.
you agree that you can be gifted?
I don't know if I agree on that.
I get it.
That's pretty sad.
Very sad.
It's funny. Well, it's just as I expected. Jenna has texted me. You have to wrap it up.
Wrap that sucky podcast up, guys.
Gosh.
You should put this one on the bloopers,
bloopers.
or like the cuts.
Oh, there's no
Edits.
cuts.
There's no cuts.
There's no edits. There's no cuts. It's all live. It's all live in 5.
We're
Coming
live
to
right
you
now.
live and direct. The mean streets of.
Pull up TJ. Welcome TJ to the Uncultured podcast.